Does he know who you are?
We have played each other. We have played each other.
Yeah?
Yeah. He wrecked me pretty hard.
Yeah?
Yeah, but I almost had it. I just
Do you think it would be creepy for him to hear from you that he's your big brother?
But we look like... I would love that. He might not like it, but, you know... He's cool. Like, if I could harness the Polt, then maybe I would be become a better player.
For
I mean, he does stream, so I watch him a lot.
Yeah. I'd watch players too, and I'd be like, yeah, they're definitely my big or little brother because I watch them. And we have the map is loaded in. Kawaiian, take it away. You're gonna carry me through this cast.
Okay, spawning in the top position of Prion Terraces, we have representing CM Storm is the blue Terran Polt. And in the bottom, representing Invasion, we have the pink Protoss player, Harstem. But we'll see what happens this game. Polt did not go for that third CC last time. He went for relatively early Ghost, which was really weird. I've never really seen that. Most people go into Liberators, like a huge amount of Liberators, and then it turns into this Blink Disruptor, Tempest versus Liberator, Bio, Mine, and then you mix in Ghosts later on. But
are the Ghosts meant to counter like Adept Openers?
The Cyclone is. The Cyclone is.
Okay.
The Cyclone is the early pre-5-minute unit to get in all TVPs, just because you chew off all the Oracles, all the War Prisms, and you don't die to some massive War Prism all-in.
And we did see Polt make a Cyclone pretty much every game.
It's the safety net.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool from him. Harstem with a quick scout. He wants to know what Polt is up to. Is this a Reaper opener, you think, Taylor?
Yeah, I think Polt almost always goes for that one Reaper into Reactor, and then he expands behind this on the low ground. Pretty much what every other Terran will do. A lot of Terrans do like going that CC first build, but when you go that CC first build, you are prone to Adept harass, and Adepts are really annoying for Terrans because Marines just don't kill them.
Fair enough. So we see the first Reaper. Of course, that's going to be Polt's first look into the map with that. He's going to be scouting Harstem with it, and that's probably the main reason that you would go for a Reaper, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not really looking for damage from it. You're just looking for information, basically.
Yeah. And this map it's a straight line to your opponent's base. There's a lot of side lanes, meaning there's a lot of places for proxies. And we see from Polt, he's checking the gold bases, making sure there's not early proxy. It could be a gateway, it could be a robo, it could be a Stargate, it could be almost any other structure from Protoss, or even just a pylon for warpins.
Indeed. And why would Protoss make a gateway? Some people might be wondering.
Oh, because you get warper quick warp-ins versus just a standard pylon. I'm not even sure the times, but it's a significant amount. It's like an elevator ride, like from the very top to the bottom if you don't have a gateway there. It literally takes forever. But we see from Polt getting that safety bunker, and he's going for that 1-1-1, getting that Cyclone, and he's probably just going to do what he did last time against Mana. It seemed to work out relatively well.
Yeah, Harstem must have watched that, though. How do you think Harstem should adapt to Polt's style here, if at all?
Maybe be a little bit more cautious with the War Prism. A lot of Protosses do like getting that War Prism right into the main base, warping the Adepts right in your face. You don't have time to react. You have to pull SCVs, and you're going to lose a lot of them. But overextending, if Harstem just plays safe, takes a third, he's got to assume that Polt will go for that Cyclone. And as we see, the Cyclone is in production. If he was paying attention to the mana games, he would also spot that Polt didn't take a third, so maybe he's trying to do a big 2-base push. You know how he did the triple medevac drop in the main while trying to take out the third? The Polt style, sniping off nexus left and right, pulling your opponent out of position. But maybe Harstem has a secret strategy behind that, because the multitasking of Polt is very impressive. And he will try to pull any Protoss apart like he's done in the past.
Definitely. So Harstem going for a very quick gold. Is there anything that Polt can do to abuse the fact that that Harstem is going for this? Not
really. I mean, he is getting a relatively late starport. He didn't start it right after the factory. He went for 2 barracks and then a factory to get that Cyclone out. He is getting a relatively quicker stem and an eBay. He doesn't really know what he's facing yet. The Reaper is going to go in the main. Actually, he was afraid of losing it maybe, because if there's a pylon up there and you go up the ledge and the overcharge comes, it takes 2 shots to kill Reaper with a pylon. So it's a really delicate tool, the Reaper, especially for scouting. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a scan in the main to see any gateway explosions or whatnot. We do see a Widowmine in production, or it was in production, and I'm pretty sure he's going to drop it with a ton of Marines and hopefully get some worker damage.
Yeah, but Harstem is going to spot Polt's natural base here with the Observer. A little bit of a risky spot, I would say, for the Observer, but perhaps unpredictable enough that Polt may not notice it. Now, yesterday he was pretty good at scanning and finding those Observers, and here comes the Widowmine drop with it's just the Widowmine drop. What do you think of this? It seems like the Widowmine might die before it burrows.
Yeah, Widowmine drops have been out of the meta recently just because pylons deal so much damage. If the Mothership Core is in position, you could drop 4 Widowmines all at once, and they would not burrow with 2 pylons with overcharge and the Mothership Core. There's just too much DPS right there. In Hatsu, it was very common just because of the Nexus. We see the Widowmine go down, it's going to get burrowed, but I wouldn't expect anything but 1 worker kill, and yep, there we go. Good micro from Harstem, zoning out 1 probe, sending it in the face of the Widowmine to take the hit.
Yeah, and he doesn't have an Observer in production, however, so he's pulling 1 back potentially, or how's he gonna... Oh, a cannon. Wow, okay. Is that even gonna finish in time to soak up the second Widowmine shot?
There's gonna be 1 more hit, but Harstem might just play it safe. As we see, he is... the Observer came back.
Observer, yeah.
But we see Blink, +1 armor. +1 armor is going to help the Adepts tank a little bit more from the bio.
You know, if he was always going to go for the cannon, I think I would have rather seen the cannon maybe after the Widowmine is taken care of, because now Polt knows that is a no-drop zone.
Yeah.
And, you know, that could have been big, right? Like, if you drop into static defense, a lot of the time that's, you know, army that you don't have with your actual army. And if your opponent doesn't have to worry about that, or can deal with it easier with warpins or the static defense, in this case the cannons, absorb enough damage, then that can be the time that you need to take an advantage somewhere else. Polt's sniping the Observer nicely, but it's going to give a heads up to Harstem. And backing right after scanning the Observer, so I actually would have rather seen Polt maybe move a little bit forward or continue to move forward so that Harstem would think that
make some more units or something like that.
Exactly.
But Harstem knows the timing of the third. The Observer's been at the third base of Polt, and he knew that a third wasn't being taken when he took his third. So he knows that he's economically ahead. He has the gold established relatively early, and he knows if he defends, he's just gonna start scaling out of control. So it's up to Polt to make that pressure. We do see units going around the map looking for pylons, for counterattacks, and this is a very Polt style. He's going to try to pull the Protoss player out of position with medevacs, and I think he's going to go up to 5 barracks. He's already at 5. Maybe he's going to 8, as we see. Yep, 8 barracks total.
Yeah, it's just what Polt does, right? Yeah. Like he pulls Protoss players apart with harassment on multiple places at once. So what I am wondering is whether... I think if I was a Protoss player going up against Polt, I would just make like 2 or 3 cannons per base and just not have to worry as much about those drops with the Mothership Core, maybe even left behind as, of course, what's the other ability by the Mothership? The Time Warp was nerfed?
But yeah, it was nerfed, and it's not really used for anything but zoning. So it's not really something you just plop down and catch all of them.
Yeah, the Mothership Core usually wants to stay back, I would say, in PvT anyway. So, yeah, I think that sort of thing could be really good against Polt. Harstem did make some cannons, or 1 cannon per base so far, so that could help him out a lot. As you said, he's scaling up very quickly. He's doing really well on the upgrades, but Polt is also going into higher tier or tech units with the Liberators and the Ghosts, which, you know, he had huge EMPs against Mana yesterday. He did. He pretty much EMP'd everything. Harstem, of course, playing from Korea. He is the one... he's the foreigner here, but he's the one he's the one in Korea where Polt is in Atlanta. So, sorry.
Yo, the camera's on you.
Oh, good.
Oh, hi.
We're beautiful.
So, yeah. So a pretty interesting game. I would say anyone's game right now. The supply is there's only a 4 supply difference as we.
I will admit though that Harstem is taking his 4th, and Polt's armory is a little bit late. Like he did have +1 attack, and he's just going to have 2-1 versus. Harstem's 2-2, and Harstem's also getting the Adept upgrade, and he's getting the extended thermal lance. I'm surprised he's going to Colossus. I think he just wants that consistent amount of damage, because Disruptors, as we both know, are not guaranteed damage. They're whatever you put into it. Like, you can get a great hit, you can whip on the hit, they can get picked off relatively easy. But he is going to Colossus, and he's actually getting Stargate, so I think he might be thinking there's going to be a Liberation. But as we can see, Polt's going for those Ghosts, which are, you know,
Oh, look at this Colossus. What do you think about the Colossus edition here for Harstem? I mean, Terran players don't really like make Vikings anymore or mix them in, so...
But we have Liberators, though.
Yeah.
It's like the new Viking.
Yeah, and Harstem actually continuing to produce Colossus. No, but the Liberators want to be in siege mode, right? Like
Yeah, they always want to be in siege mode because
they don't
have this. Like they do splash, but Colossus are pretty big units, so they don't clump up like a Mutalisk. So you would always want them in siege mode against Protoss. There's not many cases where you would have them in anti-air mode in any case. But we do see Polt moving out with a significant army. He's almost maxed out.
It's big. Harstem will see the army composition, however, and he doesn't really have many units that will, you know, get too affected by the EMP other than just losing all of their shields, which is huge.
Yeah, it is pretty big deal.
But at least, you know, he's not committing to something like High Templars or something where if they get EMP, they're pretty much worthless, right?
Yeah. And good little run by with these depths.
Very nice.
Exposed mineral line and everything. But Polt's going to set up here, and those Liberators zoning out most of the Protoss army so they can't engage. We'll see if he wants to commit to defense, but that is a lot of bio. But maybe
that's a lot of Colossus, too. I mean, it's 2 Colossus, you know.
I think Polt's just going to pick off Nexus and just get out of dodge. Because
that's a very Polty move, but when Polt unsieges the Liberators, Harstem might have a timing here where he can blink under them and potentially pick them off. However, Harstem is actually moving his army, which might allow Polt to those are powerful. Which might allow Polt to you know, snipe the 4th again if Harstem continues to get off position. Harstem actually maxed out already, so do you think we're gonna see an attack here from him sometime soon?
I think he's got to relieve this pressure off his 4th base before he can go for any other push. I'm not sure if the War Prism was taken out. It was taken out. Or was there even a War Prism?
He's going to forfeit the 4th again. I mean, he's telling Polt, I'm not at my 4th, go get my 4th. But Polt not really taking advantage of that just yet. You know what I would really like to see from Harstem is something that you don't usually see from Protoss. It's a Sergi move. But if he did a flank here with his army, because his army is very Zerg-like, right?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have a lot of spellcasters. He has a lot of units. He has a lot of adepts. So I think that a flank would be great because the Terran army will want to kite Harstem back.
Yeah, 100% agree. Flanks are amazing against Liberators because usually when you put Liberators, it's to zone one side, not all sides. You can't just put them around you like a circle unless you have a significant number.
As the Ghosts!
The Ghosts are getting...
Yeah, and Harstem defending on the other side as well with there's a small skirmish that, you know, Harstem's being like, you do not want to come here, buddy. Both, of course, with the vision advantage with that watchtower, will know how much of Harstem's army is being committed there. But in the meanwhile, he has managed to set up a 4th. Harstem is also taking the other 4th, kind of giving up on the idea of taking the gold and spreading himself a little bit too thin. And we might have a small skirmish on the bottom of the map one more time, but nothing too significant is going to happen here. Harstem with not really a capability to do anything other than zone out the army of Polt, as he doesn't have stalkers there.
Yeah.
He's you know,
but he is going to Tempest. He's going to that Tempest Disruptor, and the Tempests are supposed to kill the Liberators from afar. I would love to see an Oracle to get that Revelation on.
Yeah.
And when you have that Revelation on the Liberators are only effective in siege mode. As we see, Polt's also getting Vikings because he knows that Tempests are on the map, and you can't kill Tempest with Liberators.
Yeah.
You have to go Vikings.
That's a great point, especially with the Oracle, as you were pointing out, because if you don't have the Revelation from the Oracle, you don't have something that will consistently grant you vision like an Observer.
Exactly.
Because if there's Observers, Polt will know. If you're shooting at my units that you shouldn't see, then there's an Observer around, so I'll just scan and kill it. Right, where the Oracle is going to provide consistent vision for Harstem's army to be able to pick those Liberators off for a set amount of time.
The one criticism I can make from Polt, though, is that he doesn't have the Liberator upgrade to extend the range of the Liberators, because this 4th of Harstem is pretty exposed to a backline Liberator, especially if it had that range, because you could just siege it for days, and there's nothing
yeah, but Tempests are out, so you could argue that if he was gonna get that maybe a little bit earlier, would have been a lot better.
But that's a pretty exposed 4th. It's really hard for Protosses to take the gold or the forward 4th because both prone to...
great EMPs, and actually Polt getting a decent move in here, but
he has no ground army.
there's actually not much of a ground army for Harstem either. And
it's in this awkward stage. Colossus do get out, and it's just Viking Liberator. Those Cloaked Ghosts are actually doing an amazing amount of damage.
I don't even know.
There was an Observer. I think Polt scanned, and the Vikings picked off the Observer, and then the Cloaked Ghost just reigned supreme.
Wow.
I mean,
Ghosts have a lot of DPS.
Yeah, Ghost Liberator is very scary for Protoss players because how do you detect them without observers?
It looks like out of nowhere, just Harstem falling far behind in this game, and he's gonna have to GG out.
Yeah.
A very sudden move there by Polt. Of course, what he did was he dropped in the main, and that also pulled
the attention from Harstem.
Yeah, and most of the Blink Stalkers, which allowed for. Because you want to defend the drops with the Blink Stalkers, right? They're the ones that are going to be able to pick off the medevacs and whatnot. Yeah. So a very clever maneuver from Polt, pulling the Blink Stalkers out of the army, identifying, you know what, your army has a lot of Tempests. It has a lot of different stuff, like Adepts don't really shoot up.
No. And when they're EMP, they really die quickly.
Most of Harstem's deck was geared towards dealing with a ground army, and Polt's air army just reigned supreme alongside the Ghosts. So.
You said most of Harstem's deck, right?
Hmm?
You said Harstem's deck.
Harstem's deck. Yeah, cool. I didn't realize it.
There's a
Harstem's deck. Harstem's deck was not yeah.
But most Protosses do like getting Storm just for that one purpose of if the Observer's taken out, the Storm will decloak the Ghosts. I think if Harstem mixed in a couple of High Templar, it couldn't hurt. Yeah, you still have that smile.
Yeah, for sure. So, a close game regardless. I think that Harstem probably learned a little bit from that, but I think that he had some edges here and there, and overall, a well-played game for him. Now, this unit composition from Polt, he controls it so well.
Yeah.
It's such a well-balanced composition from him to get so many different tech units. You know, it's so hard to control because you have to...
So micro-intensive.
Yeah,
Stim,
it really is.
EMP, Cloak, Liberators, you can't
There's so many abilities that you have to use, so a lot of the time you'll have to preemptively siege the Liberators where you think that the fight is gonna
slow and gives
take place.
The Protoss prepare, like they can prepare. And I really think Harstem could have wrapped, like you said, could have wrapped around that army at the 4th, relieved it, set it up, and then go for a solid push. But
I think so as well.
He never got to the other side of Polt's side of the map. As we saw with Mana, he did, and Polt was pressured to do some stuff that was risky, but it paid off in the end.
Well, Polt played a much lower economic.
He went for the 2 base.
He went for 2 base, then floated his 2. So he was pretty all in on the 2 CC build there. Not the case here. He went for a macro game, and that ended up working for him a little bit better. Orbital Shipyard will be the next map between Harstem and Polt. Next up, I believe it's gonna be the Lord of the Underground himself, Root Gaming's Petraeus, going up against MC, if I'm not mistaken. That's gonna be a great match. So go ahead and bet on esportgaming.com/root if you want, you know, to make yourself some money or bet some golds and win some cool prizes. So in the top hand side at the 1 o'clock position in the map Orbital Shipyard, it is Polt from CM Storm.
And in the bottom left position, representing Invasion Esports, it's the pink Protoss, Harstem. So, going from this, most Protoss players, I would assume they like the Nexus first. It's really like, you can't really punish a Nexus first as a Terran player, unless you went already for some kind of proxy barracks. And Proxy Reapers isn't really a thing, just because Pylons are just too good at everything. So I would imagine see a CC first into two barracks and slowly tech up as we see a CC first going down. I wonder if he's going to get a Cyclone with this build. Last time he did open up with that one Reaper that he loves going and then slowly teching up to that Cyclone. Maybe he'll go straight into 3 racks or something. There's a lot, like Polt, this is the one time in the TVP where he's deviated from going for that safety Reaper.
Yeah, and a lot of that is, you know, because of the setup of this map. Potentially, it's a map where it's easy to go for the early economy and still be safe against everything because you don't need to wall off a larger ramp, right? Like you only need to wall this ramp off, as Polt has done, and with that you'll be able to take 2 bases safely and easily.
Yep.
where on most maps the ramp to the natural is much larger and not where you want your production facilities to be. A lot of that is because, for example, Terran needs to add tech labs and reactors to their barracks, so you don't want barracks exposed or reactors or tech labs exposed, and a lot of the time you won't even be able to build them in your ramp. You know that just the architecture won't allow for it. So on this particular map, I like that Polt is adapting to the map,
going that 3 racks,
and going,
which is really surprising. You can go for that quick Liberator, and you can siege the pocket expansion of the Protoss player, and I think there's a sweet spot in there where you can pick off the back 2 mineral patches, and most Protosses have a struggle with dealing with that.
How does a brother deal with that? Like Phoenix or something?
If you open up Stargate, you go Void Ray. If you have enough Blink Stalkers, you can just overrun it because the Liberator range was nerfed. So it does get attack ground mode right away, but the range is nerfed. You have to upgrade that. Of course, if you did have the upgrade...
So there's not a sweet spot, is what you're saying, like against Blink Stalkers.
Yeah, against Blink Stalkers, but you can't just go at it with 1 or 2 Blink Stalkers. You have to have, I think 4 is the right number.
You know, even if you have 1 or 2 Queens in position for Liberators, though, by the time they siege up, they don't actually have that much HP.
They're pretty squishy.
They're kind of deceiving in the way they look compared to how much they can actually tank. So. Yeah, maybe with a couple Stalkers in position, that could be a way. But of course, we're not going to see Liberators here. Polt going for a quick stim, and Harstem going for a very quick robo. We might see an Observer really quickly, and we can deduce this because of the rally point of Harstem's robo. Already set towards Polt's base.
Now, Harstem has been making Adepts non-stop. He might go straight after the Observer into a War Prism and do some War Prism harass. It's really effective, but he is going to opt for that quick 3rd base. I do like War Prisms on this map just because you can hit from both sides. And Adepts just, if the Terran takes the 3rd and has the army not split up perfectly, the Adepts will get in with the War Prism and get a ton of kills. But we'll see what kind of tech that Harstem wants to go into. He is going for that Twilight Council, as we see, so probably Blink Disruptor, or he might go for that quick Adept upgrade and get the Immortals and Colossus like he's done and Mana's done. Maybe that's the European way to play Protoss. I know a lot of North American Protosses like to play the Blink Disruptor style rather than the mass Adept Immortal Colossus style.
I like how insightful you are, Taylor. You know what I'm gonna start doing? I'm gonna do what you do in CVCs and just pretend like I complete your thoughts. Okay, so like I'll interrupt your thought process in the middle of a sentence, and I'll like just keep going. I like it.
You make me in such an uncomfortable position.
Uncomfortable position. I'm just kidding, Taylor. I love you, man. So yeah, we have Blink started. What do you think of this, Taylor?
He has the War Prism. He's got Blink. He's gonna use the War Prism to try to keep
warpin.
Yeah. Warping some Adepts, keep Polt on the other side of the map, and the Blink's gonna be really good defending any drops or whatnot. He has Harstem did take a quick third
base. Okay, let's go. So yeah, and this could be a little bit deceiving for Polt because he hasn't seen any Stalkers just yet. But I don't think this is a committed attack from Harstem, right? It's not really any sort of all-in. Also, Harstem sees the units of Polt moving out on the map, so I don't think that this is anything that he needs to be worried about. Perhaps just a fake move out by Polt, seeing as he doesn't have medevacs out. But there are, I think, 2 medevacs on the way, and that could change things. That could make it so that Polt can commit to an engagement, or at least just poke in with his units and see what he can get done, and then potentially get out if he's not finding much damage. He does find that Adept there, and that's going to help out, and he's going to be waiting for his medevac. So it's a very well-timed and quick push, but Blink is almost done, so this could definitely backfire for Polt. And Harstem already making additional Blink Stalkers so that he can potentially punish this. If he can stop it, then he can Blink under the medevacs and take a decisive advantage, especially with the 3rd that he already has up. So things looking pretty good for Harstem, I would say.
Yeah, and he does have that War Prism set up. He's probably going to warp in some Adepts, drop him in the back expansion, knowing that most of Polt's army is on his side of the map trying to poke at him. And I think Harstem is pretty confident in his defense. He has sentries at the 3rd with the pylon, so we already know that he can pretty much hold off anything at the front, and it's going to be up to the drops. But Blink is done, And he's going to slowly go into disruptors, I imagine. He might go for classes like he did before, but maybe he might change up his style.
Oh, here could come an aggressive blink, not just yet. And Polt actually rejoining with the rest of his army. Here comes the Adept Harass as Ro8 from production catches absolutely everything. Yeah, why is he getting out? Oh, okay, that's why.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, he probably could have stayed in there a little bit longer, but he scouted. There were no more workers. He scouted the Ghost Academy, so he might be afraid like last time where he did have a pretty good army, but sniping the observers just GG. He might go for a push.
How do you counter ghosts, Taylor?
As Protoss?
Yeah.
It's really hard because if they build up that mass amount of air just to snipe observers, any observer in the area, then you can't really counter it. You can have disruptors is a good pick. I think disruptors is the most optimal. It's like how you deal with lurkers or any burrow tech. You just disruptor where you think the ghosts are. I mean, it's just like fighting against DTs, right? So it's a...
Oh, and this Phoenix is going to get the Warp Prism alongside 4 Adepts, so great pickoff.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's the same thing,
It's
Phoenix,
okay.
Viking.
Well, I have to correct you sometimes, right?
Oh,
Like,
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I like it, Taylor. So Polt finding yet another observer there, I believe, and Harstem now going for his upgrades. So a fairly even game, but Harstem has had a good economic lead with that third for a long time. So it's the pressure is on Polt to try to make something happen. That hallucinated Phoenix barely missing the 2 medevacs, so Harstem might be caught a little bit off position here, or it's actually not 2 medevacs. It's a couple Marines on the. Oh no, it is 2 medevacs, and they're going into the main. So this could be dangerous, Kawaiian.
Very Polt finesse, dropping in the main, gonna try to push the third after Harstem reacts to it. The pylons are gonna put up a pretty big fight, but they don't have the range to pick at the medevacs or the bio army.
And look at this. This time around, Harstem sending Adepts rather than Blink Stalkers.
Nice blink, but it doesn't really pick off the
medevacs.
medevacs.
No. Oh, no.
That is a pretty big deal. Is there any AoE? Let's see from the unit composition. Harstem doesn't have any splash.
Yeah, he really needs the Mothership Core here, potentially. And
the units getting caught on the ramp is pretty huge.
He does have a good spread, though, and that's going to minimize the damage of EMP. So Harstem looks like he's going to hold here by the looks of it. And it's still a close fight. Polt trying to kite backwards, but...
He can't lift into the medevacs at this point. He just has to kite back because the Blink Stalkers will pick off the medevacs for free if he does that. He, like you see right now, he's picking off the medevacs, and he's actually getting quite a bit of Polt's army.
Yeah, very well done by Harstem.
Counter push.
And even another blink forward, picking off Marauders and focusing them down as they are the bigger threat to Blink Stalkers. But a mine pulling back, and Harstem taking a little bit too much damage there. Polt with a great kite and a good answer there, picking off a few units. Perhaps Harstem not expecting that Polt would commit to that. And Harstem needs to be paying attention. You do not want to commit into Liberators, especially when your opponent doesn't yet have a third. There's no pressure on Harstem to attack. Just defend. The longer this game goes, the better position he will be in. He's even taking a fourth, perhaps not a necessary risk here, but I don't necessarily dislike it. He's enough supply ahead that he should be able to deal with Polt. And Polt, this is a little bit of a desperation move, I feel. Moving out with 4 medevacs full of units, he really wants to make something happen.
He has to make something happen, Cats, because the upgrade-wise, Harstem is in the lead significantly. Polt's armory was super late. Like, it's just building now, and we're already 10 minutes into the game. It's pretty late, and his upgrade's going to be late, so he has to do some kind of damage. Killing the rocks of Harstem may seem like an intimidating move, but it's actually not really helping. He does force the stem, so go for Harstem rocks.
Look at this. This is really smart by Harstem. He's making additional pylons, as pylons are probably his highest DPS units on defense, and that's going to help out a lot, and it's going to make it considerably harder for Polt to move into Harstem's base. And Adept spotting reinforcements and 4 medevac drops. Here we go. But the Mothership Core is in position. Is it going to be enough?
Full energy, though, so he's going to spam all those photon overcharges on the pylons, and Polt's actually confined to that. But like I said, no AoE. He is warping in Adepts to counter this, but that's just too much DPS for just 7 Adepts. And he's probably just going to try to trade as best as he can, while Polt is actually sieging the third with the Liberators, but he doesn't know about the 4th base. So as long as Harstem can hold, Harstem's in a great position, and we see by his supply,
Harstem can just
ahead.
transfer those probes to the 4th base if he chooses to do that. That'll be fine. It will not matter too much if he loses his third, as Polt's third is still considerably late. But yeah, a few of the units of Harstem as well getting choked into his own choke, so his architecture working against him there. So Polt identifying really well where those drops can be the most effective, utilizing Harstem's own SimCity against them. But like you said, Harstem already on a 4th base. These Liberators are probably the biggest threat to him. And he's going to have to be really careful. Look at this little army by Polt waiting for a blink forward.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's going to pick those off. Yeah, really well done. So Harstem not aware that those units are there in case the blink stalkers try to flank the Liberators. So really, really well done by Polt. It's going to cost Harstem 4 blink stalkers or 3 blink stalkers. And now the supplies are actually in favor of Polt.
Yeah.
So this could be really scary because the units tab shows that Harstem has considerably more workers than Polt. He has, like you said before, no AoE. And Harstem's going to commit to killing those Liberators, and that's going to be pretty good for him. Perhaps a little bit late, took a lot of damage from those.
DPS
but
here.
yeah, it looks like Polt might just have to match, as you pointed out. That now Harstem does have the choke advantage, but he actually gives that position up.
Yep.
And is
with
he
no
gonna have
splash,
to pull
he has
probes?
to
It
pull
looks
the
like he
boys.
will, yeah. But that's not too bad. I mean, losing some probes will not be game ending for Harstem, who still is in the lead. Now 2-2 is just finishing for Polt, and that's going to be great for him to follow up on this attack. Again, Harstem he just has to hold here. If he holds, he will be in a fantastic position to win the game, but can he hold
With
Kawaiian?
just Stalker and Depths, it's going to be really difficult. With no splash or no heavy hitting units, it's going to be all about positioning. He lost the sentries, which with the sentries, you can force field the ramp, force the medevacs to lift up the bio units, blink under it. But without those sentries, this army can just kite for days. And against Stalkers with stem bio, I mean, I don't think it's going to be really difficult for Harstem. And at the same time, he is doing a big drop in the main base. Mothership Core, if it's in position, it will be overcharging, but it doesn't look like it. Nope, he's going to pick off those gateways for almost free. Killing, yep, the Mothership Core is dead, and the pylons are getting powered off while sieging the 4th. I really wish...
Oh, he has to be careful. Harstem's running into adept shots with a lot of his army there, and doesn't really have enough to contend with the army of Polt in the... He might lose on 2 fronts here, and that would be really bad for him. Still committing on the low ground. He does pick off the Liberator, or at least he's going to attempt to, but this might just prove to be too much for the Dutchman. It looks like Polt has done it, and important to point out is it looks on the minimap like Polt has a 3rd and a 4th base, but really it's just a floated main and natural base. Move that we saw against Mana yesterday.
On Prion Terraces.
And yeah, it makes a lot of sense for Legacy of the Void. Why do we see this type of thing in Legacy of the Void and not in Heart of the Swarm?
Because you mine out quicker.
You mine out quicker, exactly. Like the economy is sped up, so it makes a lot of sense to do this sort of 2 base into... I'll expand with the same number of workers, and my income will not be too diminished by it. So really cool moves and really cool style by Polt. He's always been a really smart guy, and with that he will be advancing onto the semifinals of the tournament. A great fight by Harstem, just not quite enough. Perhaps the ping advantage.
Yeah, it was the ping.
It was the ping. But yeah, next up we're gonna have